what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, everybody's sipping wine. Oh, Jill is there. Oh, Colette is there. Okay, I'm eating a patty and drinking a Coke. Okay, the mistake I was making is that I did not scroll through the chat box. Okay, now I'm seeing friends. Everybody's sipping wine or eating. All right. Well, let's get started on this first book reading. So today I'm going to take you on a journey of escape from Ireland. I lived in Ireland for 7 years, started my own business there, fell in love, fell out of love. So what I'll do is read from Escape from Éire, which is Gaelic for Ireland, and I'll tell you about the first day when the plane landed. I fell on the conveyor belt, clutching a large suitcase nicknamed Mini Fridge. I could not help but laugh hysterically as a kind lad helped me up before I went around the bend. That was my introduction to Dublin Fair City. I arrived on Thursday, 1st July 2004 on a 10-hour overnight flight from Los Angeles. We arrived at the crack of dawn. With an 8-hour time difference between Greenwich Mean Time and Pacific Time, it was very hard to stay awake. The airport looked old and dated. Though it was 2004, I felt I had stepped back into the 1950s. Black and white photographs of hundreds of Irish immigrants arriving in America lined the walls. Floors were tiled with brown and beige colored linoleum, and buildings were painted in beige oil paint. It reminded me of an old Caribbean airport. We even had to walk to the terminal, which I found quaint. We walked down a staircase from the jet and across an airport roadway, with attendants controlling the flow of passing vehicles. The immigration officer asked why I had come to Dublin. I showed him my job offer from the company and he said, "Carry on." I would have to get formal paperwork and get my passport stamped in town. I stepped outside and the air was chilly, damp and grey. I had heard it rained frequently in Ireland, but did it have to rain on my arrival? The sky was overcast, and the heavy clouds looked ready to pour rain. I joined the line, or the queue, as Dubliners called it, at the taxi rank. When my turn came, a taxi minivan was summoned to take all my bags. They couldn't fit in a car. The driver loaded the van and asked what I had in all those bags. He asked if I had come to live in Dublin. "Yes, of course," I replied. "I've flown in from Los Angeles." The driver was small, with short limbs and a mop of prematurely gray hair. I was disappointed not to find a red-haired driver. I had been programmed in America to see the stereotypical Irish red-headed leprechaun. I could tell he wasn't old, yet he wasn't young. His round stomach was probably the clue. He had piercing green eyes and a thick accent that was not easy to understand. There was construction everywhere as we drove along. The driver showed me the new Tesco Extra on Malahide Road, new sports grounds. Many old houses were mixed in with shops, pubs, and bookmakers. "What's a bookmaker?" I asked my taxi tour guide. It was puzzling to imagine so many places making books. "That's where you bet on the horses. Ladbrokes, Paddy Power, or Hackett's could make you a fortune," he said. Well, I have never bet on a horse in my life. I wouldn't know what to do. Betting seemed to be a national pastime in Ireland. The slew of pubs that lined the streets showed that drinking was also a national pastime in Ireland. Along the way, I also learned about the weather, the Celtic tiger, which was a term used to describe Ireland's rise in financial fortune. I learned about the best places to live in Dublin, political parties, the government, and other gems from the taxi driver's store of knowledge. We finally got to Harcourt Hotel, former residence of George Bernard Shaw. I was charged 38 euros, which I rounded off to 40 euros, even though the meter actually showed a tip was included. I thought I got an excellent deal. This price, however, turned out to be a good joke when I described my journey to colleagues at the office the following week. You see, because I told the driver that I arrived from Los Angeles, the price just went up a bit, just for the tourists. And he took me on the scenic route, which was longer than what one could normally take to head downtown. I was tricked. So that was my first experience with Dublin taxi drivers. So, tell me, how did you all like the first introduction to the book? Let's see what messages we have. Oh, Daphne's here. Hi, Daphne, all the way from Dublin. So happy to see you here. Thanks, Jill. Jill has joined us from Trinidad, and then Colette is here from Atlanta. So we have lots of people. Let's see who else is here. And oh, Carol is here. Hey, Carol. So good to see everybody. Put a note in the chat box. Let me see. And this is Carol's birthday weekend, so we can sing happy birthday to you. That's part of the book reading too. Colette is eating a patty and drinking soda. Okay, showing off, are we? All right, so let's go to another part of the book. And now we are going to talk a little bit about my first day downtown Dublin and how I felt when I got there. So remember, I had just flown in from California. So this is what happened next. I took a nap for 2 hours and felt refreshed enough to explore the city. My tourist maps showed St. Stephen's Green, the beautiful Victorian park in the middle of Dublin, and St. Stephen's Green shopping center. So I decided to walk around a little. I walked with my shoulders back, my nose in the air, as if on a fashion runway. With my long, dark, chemically processed hair, lily white teeth, and very dark brown skin, I must have been a curiosity to the other city dwellers. I walked with purpose, going absolutely nowhere but for a stroll. I did not see any other black women as I walked through the city that day. I had a smile on my face, and I smiled at some of those staring faces. I walked around the corner and sat in a chocolate shop which served coffee and hot chocolate. It was amazing how the shop owner could squeeze tables, chairs, and high stools into such a small space. A very narrow countertop provided space for cups and plates. As I looked out at the fashionably dressed city people, it finally hit me. I was alone in this big city. I would have to find ways to meet people very fast. I wound my way around to St. Stephen's Green and saw that a big crowd had gathered. It was for the opening ceremony of the Luas, Dublin's new light rail service. Now keep in mind this was 2004, so the Luas, the light rail service, was brand new. New trolley lines were being installed around Dublin to bring people from the outskirts of the city to Anlar. Anlar means city centre in Gaelic. It was a big party with free rides on the new trains all day. I thought I heard the strains of steel pan, the national musical instrument of Trinidad and Tobago. I was right. A small steel band was playing jazz and other music with guitars and drums. I stopped to enjoy the music and decided to say hello to the musicians when they were done. The musicians looked like older gentlemen in their 60s. The one I spoke to said they had moved over to Ireland from London many years before and lived north of Dublin in a town called Drogheda. He then proceeded to give me a wink and look me up and down and asked if he could get in touch, you know. Imagine my shock. I thought I'd met a kindred soul during my lonely first day. The old geezer was trying to make a pass at me. I said goodbye and made a quick escape. So that was one little adventure that happened during the first day. So let's see who's here. Oh, Leslie, my old high school friend, Leslie Lee. So good to see you, Leslie. Yay. And let's see who else. Put some comments in the box there. Let's hear what everybody's thinking, you know, on this sunny afternoon. So happy that you could be here with me listening to the book readings. So put a few comments there. Good to see everybody. Yeah, tell me something. What do you think about that steel pan man trying to make a pass at me the first day in Dublin? Wasn't that something? It was funny, but you know, quite a shock at the time too. But it was nice to see steel pan in Dublin because I didn't expect it, and especially on my first date too. Right, now let us go on to another episode. You know, in Ireland, their favorite drink is Guinness. So I thought, since I was in Dublin, on my first day I would try the Guinness. And I'll tell you what happened when I went to a pub. I got back to the Harcourt Hotel where I was staying, and it was lunchtime. So they serve what they call the lunchtime carvery. This was a traditional roast luncheon served at some of the pubs. Roast beef, roast turkey, or roast pork would be served with potatoes and mushy vegetables. You know, the vegetables just boiled to death. The pub meal at that time cost €9, which was considered a reasonable price compared to meals in typical Dublin restaurants. I asked for the roast turkey meal and ordered a glass of Guinness. I couldn't drink a pint, so I just ordered a glass. So a glass of Guinness. And I told the bartender I had to try Guinness since it was my first time in an Irish pub. He said, "Good on ya!" Which means, oh, yeah, that's great. So the first sip proved to be very difficult to swallow. The black stuff was bittersweet, thick, and vile, in my opinion. Why were people enjoying this drink? I don't know. I'm not a drinker. But anyway, I had never even drank beer, but I was trying Guinness. I couldn't understand the attraction for it. One patron ordered mashed potato, potato wedges, and French fries for her meal. This was all smothered in gravy. She must really like potatoes, that's what I thought. Meat and vegetables were not on her plate. So it was funny to see how some people ate. Let's see who else we have here. Oh, Daria's here. Hi, Daria. Good to see you. Oh yes, Colette reminded me she's in Florida. What was I thinking? I guess I wasn't thinking. Okay. And I didn't drink any wine either. Quite sober. Anyway. Yes. So good to Margaret asks, what emotions were you feeling as you landed in Ireland? I was excited but afraid at the same time. I was excited for the new adventure because I love relocation compared to some people who think it's a bit of a drag. I love relocation. And so I was excited to be moving there and taking up a new job. But it was scary because I had one acquaintance in the city somewhere, but when I landed, it was just on my own. I had booked a hotel in advance online, And then I even booked a place to look for a rental. So I made an appointment online. Everything was done online, but without knowing anybody. And one person from work volunteered to come and take me around on my second day and help me find a place to rent. So it was a little scary, but not too bad. All right. So Colette is drinking wine. Carell has ice cream. Good on ya. Wish I had some ice cream too. I don't have any treats at the moment. But it's a treat to see everybody. It's a treat. Okay. So now I have another treat for you all. I'm going to read a story about wearing hats in Dublin. So I have a nice hat that I'm going to wear to read this story. So let me put it on now. So who's seeing my hat? I'm going to tell you about Irish traditions. Are you seeing my hat? Do you like my hat? You like my hat? Now in Ireland, there are many opportunities to wear hats and fascinators. Okay? It's very popular. You see? Very popular to wear hats and fascinators. They have so many opportunities. Either horse racing, show jumping, and parties. So many ladies wear hats. And now it's a rare treat when it's sunny because it rains almost every day. So when the sun comes out, we are so fortunate to be able to wear our hats. Right? So this one I made myself when I actually came to Toronto. But in Ireland, that was the first time I made hats. Hi Daphne, do you like my hat? Yay! So this one, I actually won a prize for it at a polo match north of Toronto. First prize for my hat at that competition. And it was Ladies' Day. So I learned to make hats in Ireland. And I won first prize for my hats. And I'm going to tell you all how that happened. So it was August 2005. Can you imagine? Is anybody seeing my hat? Okay, I'm going to start reading now about my adventure in making the hat and winning first prize. I did something to make folks jealous. I took a day off in August without telling anyone at work where I was going. In fact, I went to the Dublin Horse Show with my friend Anne. What could be more important than Ladies' Day at the RDS? I made an elaborate hat out of hat material and I spray painted it yellow and gold. I put stickers at the front which read Dublin Horse Show 2005 in black and gold letters. I got strips of yellow and red ribbon, starched them and curled them, and then added these to one side of the hat. I also bought two massive feathers, one yellow and one red, to perch at the top of the hat. I chose the colors to match my flame yellow tie-dye dress that I bought in Trinidad. As the announcement came for the beginning of the competition of Ladies' Day, we made our way towards the stage. There was a long queue of hopefuls, since the big prize was €1,000 for the best dressed lady. I had no idea what the judges were looking for. Sponsors gave prizes for the best dressed, and the best hat. We filled in the forms and entered the competition to receive a gift bag. As I crossed the stage, one of the judges, Louis Copeland, joked, "I need sunglasses to look at that dress." I laughed aloud and told the judges I made my own hat. The competition continued for over 2 hours. We went off to get a drink and something to eat, then returned to the stage when the winners were about to be announced. The best dress prize went to a lovely girl who had made her own dress and hat in black and gray tune, a little bit like Mary Poppins. Then they announced, "And the prize for the best hat goes to..." Before I knew it, I heard my name called. I screamed, shouted, ran to the stage to collect my Oscar. It was indeed a great moment. Who would have thought? Anne and her colleagues from work cheered me on. Photographers went wild. My prize included a large bouquet of flowers, €100, and dinner for two at Ernie's of Donnybrook, a fancy continental European-style restaurant. I returned home jubilant to tell Tiffany my story. A few days later, I took little Miss Tiffany out to Ernie's for dinner. The next morning, my photograph was in every Dublin newspaper. A woman from Trinidad and Tobago had won the first prize for her hat at the Dublin Horse Show. It was in the Evening Herald and all the Dublin newspapers. If the people at work didn't know where and why I had disappeared on Thursday, they certainly found out in the newspapers. An elderly gentleman who followed me around the horse show for the whole day, even he called on the job to speak to Jennylynd James and say hello and congratulations. So when I went to lunch that day in the cafeteria at work, I discovered that someone had put the newspaper clipping showing my photograph and the article about the horse show on the notice board for everyone in the company to see. I was so delighted until I looked across and I saw the eyes of the owner of the company glaring at me during lunch because she knew I was absent the day before. So that was really, really funny. I had disappeared. I said I was sick. I wasn't sick. I was sporting hats. So I was. Anyway. So let's see what you all have to say here in the comments. Okay. Yes, so I'm going in and out. You drank Guinness on your first day? Yes, I tried it, but oh well. Oh, and oh, there's a delay, so you didn't see my hat. I think you're seeing it now. Daphne thinks Guinness is disgusting. Oh well. So now I'm waiting for some comments on the hat. And I'll take a picture in the meantime of me and my hat. So there's a little delay. Let's see. Let me put on my glasses so I can see what I'm doing. Yes. So I'm waiting to see what the comments are about my hat. I know there's a delay. You haven't seen the hat yet. So let's wait a little bit. Let's wait. All right. Are yours? Now let's see. Who is tell me where you'll reach now. Put a comment in the box. Have you seen the reading about the hat yet? Put a comment in the box. Let me know how far you've seen. Yes, I'm not quite sure where you all are seeing at this point in time, but I'll keep wearing the hat and continue doing the presentation with my hat. How about that? So I'm going to do another reading. I'm going to read about the first time I attempted to go out selling my products. So I left a job at a food company and decided to start my own business. So I was bringing in food products from traders in London, UK, and reselling them at markets and events. And I decided I was going to do wholesale. That means take products to shops and have the shops sell them for me and give me a bit of the sales. Okay? So let me tell you what happened the first day, gearing up for wholesale. Farmers markets were good to generate cash, but I had the brilliant idea to start wholesale activities. If I could get specialty food shops to buy my products, then the volume would be greater and in turn the income would be greater. I decided to order another pallet of products and increase the range. I had Walker's Wood brand sauces and jerk marinade from Jamaica, fish tea, cock soup, plantain chips, ginger tea crystals, herbal tea blends from Dalgetty's. And the mix of products was just amazing. I decided one day I would dress up in a nice dark green suit, place a sample of each product in a little roller bag, and then I created my letterhead, Caribbean Enterprises. I prepared a product list with all the prices and the products so that my clients could order. And I was focusing on Moore Street in Dublin. There were a few Asian food stores, African food stores, and Muslim Indian stores that would be the first ones that I planned to visit. I wanted to look professional. And so in the sales section of a course that I had taken, they were telling us how to speak sales and all that. Now remember, I was a food scientist, never did sales at all. So it was a new experience for me. So early next morning, I got dressed up and I dragged my suitcase to the front door. I was going to take the bus into town rather than drive because I didn't know where to park. I went for a drink of water, then I reapplied my makeup. My face had to look lovely. After all of that, I was going to be talking to possible buyers, so I went to change my shoes because I knew I couldn't walk around town in high-heeled shoes. What was I thinking? Good, sensible shoes were the key for a lot of walking. Then I tried to find a bracelet. Then I needed a wristwatch. Then I figured I didn't need a bracelet anyway. Then I put 2 extra bottles of pepper sauce. All of these were stalling tactics. So then I got to the front of the door and I just couldn't cross the threshold that day. I couldn't do it. I was scared out of my mind. And I looked outside and I saw a few drops of rain falling. And that was just all I needed to head right back inside. I had failed that first day to take the first step over the threshold to go and do my sales. So I decided the next day I was going to do it. Okay, I made up my mind. So the second day I got to the front door. I looked out and it was raining. So what did I do? I put on my raincoat and I left at 8:30 a.m. So on the second day, that was when I did my first sales, walking around, my first sales walk on Moore Street in Dublin. So let's see what people are talking about here. Are you going to read about when your family came? Oh, hi, Shelley. Good to see you. Oh, you like my fascinator. Thank you. Thanks, Daria. Are you going to read about when your family came to visit? Well, I don't know if we could read everything today. What about the countryside? Now, I did live in the Irish countryside for the second half of my stay in Dublin. Let's see what else I can read for y'all. I plan to read about the Dragon's Den experience. Oh yes, now Colette gave a good suggestion. Give the chapter for those of us who have the book. Okay, so the last reading, wholesale and selling, that was, let's see, what chapter was that? Uh-oh, now I have to look for it. A New Dawn, chapter 5. So chapter 5, A New Dawn. Yes, so that talks about selling my goods, starting a business. What other information do you all need to find out? Let's see. Anything else? So the Irish countryside, no, I didn't prepare a reading for that at this time, unfortunately. The next thing I was going to read for you all was the Dragon's Den experience. And that occurred after selling products for a good 4 years all around the country, Northern Ireland, in the West, Dublin and surroundings, going to Cork for festivals. So I'd been selling for at least 4 years. So a lot of my customers told me that I should go on the Irish Dragon's Den. At first I hesitated, but then I sent in the application and a friend helped me to prepare for the Dragon's Den. But it wasn't easy building up the courage to go to that show. It wasn't easy at all. So what I'll do, I'll read a bit about filming and the whole process of filming the Dragon's Den. Right, let's see. On the filming day, we got to the venue very early. So let's say I got there at 7 a.m., which was the time when they asked the participants to show up. I didn't actually stand in front of the Dragons until 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And even though they served a light lunch, I was too nervous to eat anything. We had a coach practice our sales pitch with us, make sure we were saying our sales pitch very right, you know, the opening lines anyway. And then the rest was up to us. We were not allowed to have anyone in the room to help us or prompt us. So we had to know our sales pitch. We had to know the numbers, the figures, everything. So let me read about that Dragon's Den experience. And that would be the last reading for this afternoon. So pay attention, folks. Finally, I was asked to ascend the stairs for the start of the filming. I walked up slowly, placed my samples on the table, and faced the dragons. I felt weightless. Thank God I had not eaten much lunch. I was so nervous I could feel every inch of my body tremble. I felt so alone. The filming crew would not be sympathetic if I were to decide to turn back. Their job was to film the event. The producer had tried to put me at ease in advance, but now she was preoccupied with asking the cameraman to start and stop. My heart fluttered. My hands shook. But I put on my bravest face and a warm smile. 5 dragons sat before me, 4 men and a woman. All I saw was the shine on the bald heads of the 3 gentlemen and smiles of shock on their faces. The dragons were blown away by my multicolored dress and red shoes. "You look hot, you look like your sauces," one of them said as soon as he saw me. "Thank you. My dress comes all the way from Trinidad and Tobago," I said. We were off to a flying start. The fierce dragons were dressed in the finest suits. They wore discreet makeup and looked like wealth and success incarnate. "The business and the figures, the business and the figures," I chanted to myself. The questions and answers went on for at least an hour and a half. It was no wonder the morning's proceedings were delayed. The crew had to stop to powder the dragons' noses while I stood there greasy and exposed and nervous. I became more nervous after the first dragon pulled out of the bidding. He said he loved me and my enthusiasm for my business, but he felt it was too risky to invest. The second dragon said she was not interested. She was infamous for not investing in businesses anyway, so I was not surprised. I was then left with 3 possible dragons to bid on the business. I was asking for 40,000 euros for a 20% stake in the business. 2 dragons bid for 50% of the business at 40,000 euros. The third dragon offered 40,000 euros for a 45% stake of the business. I had no idea what to do. The film crew looked away. I asked for a few minutes to make a decision. It would have been helpful to call a friend, get advice, but I had no access to a phone. I stood at the back of the room, hitting the sides of my head as I tried to make a decision. When I turned around, there was a camera in my face. I hope the head hitting would be edited from the final version. I must have truly looked mad at that stage. When I returned to the floor with my decision, the camera started rolling again. So to find out what happened next, please get your copy of Escape from Ireland. You can get a copy on my website, jennylyndjames.com/books. Get your copy and you'll find out all that happened in Ireland. The love stories. Now, I didn't do love stories during this book reading, but there were not 1, not 2, not 3, many love stories, okay? So you have to get your copy of the book, and you can get a copy at jennylyndjames.com/books. Okay, so let's see some comments here. They're so entertaining. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Glad you're enjoying the book readings. Yes, what else? What else did people learn here? Oh, I had such a good time in Ireland and so many adventures. Okay, so it was going in and out. Well, what can we do? The internet was kind of shaky. Maybe it's the location in the room. Mary Jo, good to see you. So glad you could join in today. Yes, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you all a link to the video where it shows what happened on the Dragon's Den. So I'm going to say check out the Dragon's Den video. I'm going to give you the link. I'm going to put the link in the chat box so everybody has it, and then you can go and check it out. Right, what's happening here? So everyone sees the link. So you can play the video and you'll get an idea of what happened. The dragons were breathing fire when they tasted my hot sauces. My, oh my, they were breathing fire. Oh, Magda Lazama, thanks for joining us. Oh, I'm glad you like my hat. Yes, it's one of the favorites.